going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your SummerSlam, your WWE SummerSlam 2023 preview, predictions, all the ramble that goes along with it. I think we're roughly a year into the Triple H era, are we not? This is the time last year where we got Damage Control and a bunch of other things, and I did all those Triple H era podcasts. Wasn't that a good time? Slowly became WWE last week, which has been on hiatus for 2 weeks, and it will be until next weekend. Don't know whether we're going to be doing a review for this show or not. Depends how my weekend goes, to be perfectly honest with you. Probably not doing a Collision review as these shows are happening at the same time, even though it's the rightful champion CM Punk's first title defense since his return. Speaking of which, before we get into the topic of the evening, or should I say the topic of the morning, because this is dropping Friday morning, I do really want to encourage you guys. If you guys have been following my movie stuff, I haven't done any movie stuff in a while, and I know not all of you are into fucked up movies, but they dropped the trailer for Saw 10, and you better believe I did a trailer reaction for Saw 10. Did it last night. Thought I was going to sit down for like 5 minutes, tell you guys what I thought of the trailer. Ended up rambling for about 25 minutes. As I do. The Saw series is great. This one looks really good. Check out the trailer. Check out my reaction. And also, like I said on that podcast, check out a guy on YouTube named CZ's World who does an entire history on the character of Jigsaw, if that's your cup of tea. But yeah, that's the most recent previous podcast to this one. I would really love to get some traffic on the FlixFix stuff. I'm trying to do more of that, but it's going to depend on how the traffic goes and whatnot. Two things before we get into SummerSlam. As always, I'm recording this on Thursday. It's going to drop Friday morning, which means we haven't seen SmackDown, which means we're going to talk about the two matches that we have announced for SmackDown. The other half of what I need to say, SummerSlam looks really good on paper. Now, people don't wrestle on paper, they wrestle on canvas. That's the old retort that I've heard on social media quite a bit, especially on X in the past week or so. But I think there's really interesting conversations to be had about this card, just as much about what's not happening on this card. So what we're going to do, basically, the way I've laid it out, is we're going to talk about a match that is happening on SummerSlam, and then a match that's not, and then a match that is, and then a match that's not, because there's a lot to go over, and I haven't done a WWE last week in 2 weeks. You're not getting one from me this Monday. Hopefully, back to our regularly scheduled program following weekend as all the fallout from SummerSlam happens, and you know, as we roll on to Survivor Series and then the New Year and oh my god, Christmas is coming, blah blah blah. So let's talk about SmackDown first. Two matches announced: Sheamus versus LA Knight and Escobar versus Theory. Sheamus versus LA Knight is to get, you know, that all important, that mythical word starts with an M. It's momentum for the SummerSlam Slim Jim Battle Royal, which is nothing, really. LA Knight's going to win. If I didn't already think LA Knight's going to win, Sheamus, apparently, I've just been reading about this evening. I haven't seen it until just now. Sheamus has been bitching a lot about his place on the card. He's been being bitching a lot about his creative, bitching a lot about the company itself, etc. I'm not saying I 100% disagree with him, but I do think the squeaky wheel doesn't always get the grease, and sometimes you might get a backhand. Not saying I want that to happen. Sheamus is cool. Sheamus is overrated. Sheamus is one of those guys, I think it's Simon Miller that always says, you know, all those people that are really awesome and you won't really appreciate till they're gone, and he always mentions people like Sheamus. I mentioned people like Ziggler and The Miz and Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin, over as fuck at NXT's Great American Bash, and Gable Steveson was not. Let's just put it that way. LA Knight is over his shit right now. People are fuming that he didn't win Money in the Bank. People are fuming that he didn't get the United States Championship match. But here's the thing. They're doing the U.S. Championship on this episode of SmackDown, which meant somewhere along the way they decided to bump it to SmackDown. I said it, I think, on my last preview. I think it was on the Money in the Bank preview, where because the pay-per-views are on Saturday, Friday feels like part of the pay-per-view, whereas before, pay-per-views were on Sunday, and the immediate connected show was Monday Night Raw because of the fallout. The way that they have connected SmackDown to these pay-per-views, a prime example was down in Puerto Rico for Backlash. But so what happens is every now and then they bump a match that would have normally been on the card to SmackDown. Now, somewhere along the way, they decided that the United States Championship match was going to be bumped to SmackDown and not on the card. Now, I think it's pretty cool that they didn't give LA Knight that shot. And listen to what I'm saying before you freak out. Because if he was going to be getting the shot, you would want it to be at SummerSlam. If he was getting the shot and that match got bumped to SmackDown, people that are already pissed would be more pissed. It's to go back a couple of years, it's like when we saw a match that we were really, really interested in or really, really hyped for being bumped to the kickoff, even though it's all part of the same show and people are strange. So I think when they decided that this match was going to be bumped to SmackDown the day before, I think it's a good call that it wasn't given to LA Knight. So give him a win tonight, and we'll talk about the Battle Royal in a second. But yeah, we will talk about that United States Championship match. It's Santos Escobar versus Theory, and because I'm not doing WWE last week, I didn't get a chance to talk about Escobar versus Ray, which came to an abrupt end because Ray got injured, which is really unfortunate. You got to believe that Santos Escobar was going to win anyways. It was going to be supposed to be a huge moment for him, propel him towards his first title opportunity on the main roster and all that stuff for him that's supposed to be so good is now tainted by, you know, this by the injury of this guy that's you got to believe clearly a mentor or an overseer for his career. So he's got to be bittersweet in his moment right now. I mean, I don't think Ray's on his deathbed or anything like that, but I mean, it was enough to stop the match. Now, we're going to talk about this in a second. Rey Mysterio is going to get heavily involved in the foray on NXT this coming Tuesday, which we can talk about in a moment. But it does give me an opportunity as well to talk about, there's a lot of injuries right now. Ray's injured, Owens is injured, Liv Morgan is injured. The Raquel Rodriguez thing, I'm going to hold off on that because that's the only one I haven't seen any actual news on. We've heard news about Ray, we've heard news about Kevin Owens, we've heard news about Liv Morgan. Wishing them all the best. And if Raquel Rodriguez's injury is legitimate as well, then obviously wishing well wishes to her as well. If it's not, I have an idea of where that might come up later on in the preview. But it's one of those, you want to send out a well wish and a condolence just in case the injury is real, but it's the only one that I haven't seen any actual article on. Now, Escobar versus Theory, I'd love to see Escobar win. I liked Legado del Fantasma when they were in NXT. They traded out Elektra Lopez for Zelina Vega. Now, nothing against Elektra Lopez. Nothing against her whatsoever, but Zelina Vega has done gangbusters for that group. She's given that group more personality. Obviously, she was over as fuck. She's getting a big push after the reception that she received in Puerto Rico, and good for her. I think she was overlooked for a long, long time. But here's the thing, and it's kind of a backward compliment because I don't hate Austin Theory as much as other people do. I think they need to do something with him. They need to change something with him. Something's not clicking, clearly. But I don't think he's the lost cause that it seems like a lot of people are rooting for him to be. But right now, he's the new mid-card Cena. He's the new, the way people treat Charlotte, which is also incredibly out of pocket. But he's the one that everybody wants stripped of their title at any cost. I think the catharsis of that would be there for a Santos Escobar. But I think they want to give the catharsis of beating this guy that nobody can stand with the other side of that coin being this guy that everybody seems to be behind in LA Knight. And I think they want to do that on a huge platform as well. And as I say, the LWO, awesome. People are still harping on the fact that, oh, it's a recycled thing from WCW. So what? So what? It's working. They're selling the merch. They're getting the reactions. Once again, I say, go back to the Puerto Rico show and look at the reaction they got, the response that they got. Fucking phenomenal. Oh, it's reused. It's reused. Okay, you're probably an AEW fan. Do you really want to talk about reused ideas? I don't think you do. Let's keep it nice and positive. And speaking of AEW, I will keep it nice and positive. The first match was announced for All In at Wembley, and it's Adam Cole versus MJF. I think that's really, really cool. I think there's a couple other people in the back, really patting themselves on the back and saying, see, we're not full of ourselves. We didn't put ourselves in the main event. And we'll see if that's how it actually works out. I mean, MJF's not defending the real title anyways, so it won't be the main event technically, but yeah, it is what it is. Ricky Starks, CM Punk, it's fine. I love Collision. I absolutely love Collision. Hikaru Shida's the women's champion after this week's Dynamite. They've reached 200 episodes of Dynamite. Good for them. The women were in the main event. Tony Khan's done it a grand total of 3 times, and one of them didn't count because it was a lights-out match. That's less than 1 a year. Happy for Hikaru Shida. Really, really weird timing. The Outcasts are still great. I hope they have something big to do at Wembley. And this was your detour into the AEW conversation. But yeah, MJF, Adam Cole for Wembley, fucking awesome. I don't know where that story's going, but fucking awesome. Hope they build it a little on Collision so I can talk about it, because fuck me if I'm talking about Dynamite. Moving swiftly on. Escobar, Theory. Yeah. The most hated guy versus the most loved guy is going to be him and LA Knight at some point. As much as Escobar and LWO/Legado are riding their own wave of popularity right now, I'm not going to come up here and say that Escobar is on the same level as LA Knight as far as the fan reaction. I'm not that stupid. It's probably going to be a Survivor Series thing or a Payback thing. Payback's a B pay-per-view. They're going to want something on there that gets a huge reaction that doesn't make it feel like a B pay-per-view. That'll be LA Knight. And so unfortunately, I think Escobar runs it close, and then Theory does some fuckery. He's got Pretty Deadly in his corner, but one of them is also injured, which really sucks. I still think it's really weird that Ridge Holland is getting a lot of flack for injuring one of Pretty Deadly, because there's a whole lot more popular people out there, Sasha Banks, that have done a whole lot worse things to people. Moving swiftly on. Do think Escobar is going to run it short. Theory's going to retain. LA Knight's going to get momentum for the Battle Royal. I mean, it is just a Battle Royal that they threw on there because Slim Jim decided to be a sponsor. I get that, but at the same time, there's a Battle Royal. They're hyping it in advance. They're not just throwing it on the night. These are tiny little baby steps for WWE. What I love is location-specific shit. Now, since I would say with the exception of WrestleMania, we've gone all over the world, kind of. We've done Montreal. It's the closest a big pay-per-view has come to me in a long time. I'm not going to Montreal, mind you. But we did Montreal, we did San Juan, we did the UK, we did Saudi Arabia. Yeah, you might need to get over it. All over the world, all over the world, all over the world, except for Rumble and Mania. So we're coming back for the first big pay-per-view in the States in a long-ass time. I mean, I'm not counting Great American Bash because NXT sort of exists in its own little bubble, but hey, NXT TakeOver back in the day went to London, so we never know what could happen. It's in Detroit, and because it's in Detroit, they've got another celebrity to do the cold open. He's not even performing, as far as I know. He's just doing the cold open, the opening credit video package thing, and that's Kid Rock. People don't like Kid Rock. Okay, let me tell you something. Let me talk to you. I've been putting up with, as a wrestling fan, as a WWE wrestling fan, I've been putting up with rap and hip-hop and poppy crap and generic, music .wav number 5 for a long-ass time now. Give me some music that actually fits wrestling. Now, the theme for the pay-per-view itself is Born to be Wild. That's absolutely fine by me. That is absolutely fine by me. The Great American Bash had a theme. I don't even know what it's called, but it sounded like a cross between shitty, no-name pop music and, YouTube's generic copy-free music. So I could do without that entirely. Kid Rock is going to do the cold open. People are upset about it. People that are upset about that are the ones that are probably upset about certain country songs that are out there right now, are probably the same ones that are defending Cardi B and Lizzo right now, even though they are actual terrible people. Let's assault a fan, let's assault your backup dancers, etc. So I would much rather see Kid Rock than somebody who's going to clock one of the fans in the audience with a microphone. I would much rather see Kid Rock on this show on a wrestling show that fits rock and roll better anyways, get over it, than somebody who's going to shame and potentially abuse their dancers in the back behind prying eyes. Yeah, Kid Rock opening up SummerSlam, not a problem whatsoever. If you have a problem with it, it sounds like a you problem. Oh, yes. Let's talk about the SummerSlam Battle Royal. The SummerSlam Battle Royal exists for one thing, with everybody saying L.A. Knight. Yeah. I don't care. I don't even know. I haven't looked. He's in the Battle Royal. He's winning the Battle Royal. And I think that Battle Royal is going to be for a future United States Championship opportunity. As I say, that'll get him his title shot at Payback, or if they want to drag it out to Survivor Series. I wouldn't mind if they came out and did the Battle Royal and said the winner of this Battle Royal gets a title shot later on tonight. And then they show a video package of however they fuck over Santos Escobar on SmackDown the night before. And that could be, actually, you know what? That could be really cool. I think I want that to happen. I don't think it's going to happen because the card's already stacked. LA Knight is winning the Battle Royal. Or if he doesn't, I'm actually going to have to start hopping on with the other people. Because some people that were like, oh, he didn't win Money in the Bank. Okay, but LA Knight is over his shit, which means he can probably get to wherever he needs to go without winning something like Money in the Bank. And then he didn't win this thing, but then they didn't win this number one contenders tournament, but then we found out that that tournament winner was going to have their shot on SmackDown, not on the pay-per-view. This is a third run it close. This is a much more logical thing for people to be frustrated by than Cody not winning at WrestleMania and not finishing the story, because it wasn't his story. The story that needs to be finished when Roman Reigns loses that championship is the one that started 3 years ago, when Cody was over on the other side trying to compete with the WWE. Oh yes, oh look at me, look how clever I am, I've got a throne and I smashed it with a sledgehammer. Tee-hee-hee, I didn't say anything. Okay, we're going to get there when we get there. LA Knight's winning the Battle Royal. It's going to get him a United States Championship shot later on down the line. Brock Lesnar versus the titular Cody Rhodes. I really wish I cared about this match. Not from the Cody Rhodes perspective, from the Brock Lesnar perspective. They've made Brock Lesnar a bitch. They really have. They had him have a pretty even-steven match with Cody Rhodes, who shouldn't be even with him anyway, with one arm. Everybody was saying, oh, we need to do more Dusty stuff. He needs to be like a fucking cowbell on a pole, you know, bull rope, whatever bullshit nonsense. There's no stipulation. It's just round 3. They're going to give Cody the win. It's going to, like, I hate to keep using this as the example because I actually don't mind him now as a part-timer. John Cena. John Cena we like now because John Cena actually eats a loss every now and then. But now it's become Cody wins, LOL. And that's definitely what's going to happen. The only thing that sustains me in this match is before he gets this predictable win handed to him, he's going to get his ass handed to him by Brock Lesnar for a little bit. Which is only going to make it more sickening when he pops up out of nowhere like he's just gotten a new one-up in Mario and wins the match anyways. For fucking reasons. And everybody goes, whoa, even though the music's not playing. The only thing that sustains me through all of this is the rumor of the return of Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt comes in, attacks Cody Rhodes. Not because I think Bray Wyatt will beat Cody Rhodes in a future feud either, but just because the Cody fans think he's so above everybody, and they are already shitting their pants at the dirt sheet rumors that this might happen. I'm going to smile. I'm going to smile a whole fucking lot. I'm going to say, and I hate this terminology, I want the Codyverse, and I'm using that in tight air quotes, you know, wiggly Simon Miller fingers. I want the Codyverse to clash with the Wyatt universe. I want him to have some ridiculous branded, you know, Kool-Aid submission match, some fucking, I want him to be sucked into the, like, absolutely most abhorrent, tacky match possible with Bray Wyatt. And that's not a dig. I like Bray Wyatt. I'm a staunch defender of Bray Wyatt. But all the things that other people don't seem to like. Mountain Dew Pitch Black match was fucking goated. I don't care. I want Bray Wyatt to come back. Full stop, first of all. But also, I want Bray Wyatt to come out and target Cody Rhodes for how much it's going to wind everybody up. because at some point he's going to put him down, and at some point he's going to come out with a goofy mask that people don't like, and that's going to Cody Rhodes is going to have to try and sell it, and I'm going to love all that. I'm going to love that for how much people hate it. What do we say on this channel? Why do we like it? Because it pisses off all the right people. Oh yes. Now, first, sorry, my sinuses are killing me tonight, so if that's getting annoying, I really do apologize. Trish Stratus versus Becky Lynch is not happening. In fact, it's happening in 2 weeks in Winnipeg. This has been weird. This has been going on since SummerSlam. Since WrestleMania. SummerSlam is the show we're talking about tonight. But, Trish Stratus turned on Lita. Lita's gone. Turned on Becky. They've had, interactions here and there. They've integrated Zoe Stark, which is the best thing that they've done. But they've really, really dragged out this thing of Becky Lynch actually getting her hands on Trish Stratus, and if she beat Zoe Stark, then she was going to get her hands on Trish Stratus. She had her hands on Trish Stratus this past week on Raw, and within 2 seconds, Zoe Stark jumped in, caused the disqualification, and yeah, we're going to get that match in 2 weeks, and she took the mask off, and she's still got the mask on that she wore with that historic match with Lita all those years ago. Took it off. The nose is still all discolored. She's playing like she's still injured. 2 weeks from now, they're going to be in Winnipeg. So that's kind of cool. Adam Pearce said she's even going to have the home field advantage in Winnipeg and all that kind of thing. Now, that's going to skew the dynamic entirely, because if there's a home field advantage, Trish actually might get cheered, which is odd for the story that they're telling. I do think at some point, whether it's at Payback or whether it's down the line at Survivor Series or whatever, I do think Lita comes back one more time and this becomes a tag team match. I would buy that. I would buy Becky Lynch and Lita versus Trish Stratus and Zoe Stark as a tag team match on a pay-per-view. I think that would be really cool. The fact that we're getting this in 2 weeks in Winnipeg, kind of a bummer. I know not everybody's into this story, but I really would have liked to see it out on the pay-per-view stage without, commercial breaks and whatnot. But the upside of this is if it's on an episode of Monday Night Raw, it might get a chance to main event and it might get a decent amount of time. So you win some, you lose some. Ricochet versus Logan Paul is your fireworks match of the evening. If this was AEW, this would be your Young Bucks segment. I really like everything about this. I really like Logan Paul kind of playing a mid-carder for the first time, which is not something they usually do with celebrities. I really like the fact that Ricochet, who they don't really give any time to, is getting some spotlight, some mic time, some character time, all that kind of thing. I know people are 50-50 on Logan Paul mentioning Samantha Irving, obviously Ricochet's partner as the ring announcer. Your girl's going to have to announce me as the winner, etc. But I'll tell you why I like this, right? Logan Paul, even though he's a celebrity, he's really, really good at this. I don't care what you think of him. He's really, really good at this. And they're kind of taking advantage of that, where if they've got a star that they want to keep in a star position, but they don't have a title for him to fight for right now, it's come around to, well, why don't we just have him have a really kick-ass match with Logan Paul? See Seth Rollins at WrestleMania as a prime example, and that was a lot of fun too. Ricochet, on the other hand, is sort of the same thing in the mid-card. Oh, we want somebody else to look good. Why don't we put them in against Ricochet and the match will be fantastic? He's higher. I think he's perceived as being a little bit higher, but he is kind of in an almost Ziggler position, which is dangerous. So here's Logan Paul, whose celebrity status is used to boost other people like Roman Reigns, like Seth Rollins, etc. Here's Ricochet, whose actual ability in the ring, not that Logan Paul doesn't have ability too, don't misquote me on that, whose ability in the ring is used to do the same thing in the mid-card, and rather than both of them being used to make other people look good, to put a spotlight on other people, to put a good shine on other people, they're using it for each other. And that's kind of cool. And it's kind of taken it... I guess Damian Priest and Bad Bunny would be a similar thing, because Damian Priest isn't in the main event just yet. But I think it's really cool. I think they're both going to benefit from it a lot. I think Ricochet's not the greatest on the mic, so the fact that they're not trying to pretend that this is like a separate main event spectacle thing works in his favor. Logan Paul's carrying most of the promos. He's doing all his like cheesy, oh, by the way, buy my Prime, oh, by my way, let me get a selfie, right? He's putting all the cheese on himself so that anything that would have fallen on Ricochet, where maybe he wouldn't cut the best promo that day, or maybe he, overacts with his face or whatever, that might make him look accidentally goofy, Logan Paul as a character is sort of taking all the goofy on himself so that Ricochet looks awesome by comparison. I'm talking about the build, and I'm talking about the promos, and I'm talking about the characters, because it's beyond question that this match is going to be awesome. It's going to be different. They're going to do some ridiculous spot. The shit that they did at the Royal Rumble was cool. It was viral. It was whatever it wanted to be. I was way more impressed by the Money in the Bank thing. And people are saying, like, kind of speaking against that is like, well, they almost fucked up the thing at Money in the Bank. I would rather see somebody almost fuck up in a situation that precarious and show me that they can bring it back like they did, than just have a spot go okay sometimes. Because if you do something awesome, then that's awesome. If you can show me recovery, that's a different... Not that they need to worry about earning my respect. Don't mistake what I'm saying here. But that's a different kind of respect for me as somebody watching. I was like, oh, that could have been really bad, and it wasn't, because you both pulled it back together again. Mostly Ricochet, let's be real for a second. But I don't know, the Logan Paul experiment seems to be working pretty well. I will say, I'm giving shout-outs to everybody this evening. On What Culture, I think they were at the Money in the Bank, and they did a bunch of like Q&As with fans outside the arena, whatever. And they asked some of the fans outside, what was it, the O2 Arena, what they think of Logan Paul, and all of them, the ones that loved him, were like, yeah, he's a bit of a dick, but like he's so awesome in the ring, and da-da-da, whatever. And then the people that don't like him were like, oh, he's so good in the ring, it's too bad he's a dick. And it's like, you all agree that he's awesome, so maybe get over it. Maybe judge a person at a show by what they do at the show? I mean, it's not like he's Velveteen Dream trying to diddle the fans. Just saying. He's not throwing microphones in people's faces. He's not attacking people in the back. He's not getting himself a position of authority so that he can abuse his fellow wrestlers. I mean, there's lots of other things that could be worse than whatever the hell you think of Logan Paul. Gunther versus Drew McIntyre for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, the conversation about the Intercontinental Championship is exhausting now. Gunther's awesome. Kind of goes without saying. I gotta say, the match that he had with Chad Gable this week on Raw was insane. Like, awesome for him. He has great matches. Chad Gable needs to get a rematch at some point for that championship. But, again, I go back to the example of Roman Reigns and Cody. And people said, well, Cody has to win at WrestleMania. Cody has to win at WrestleMania. It's his story, even though it's not like, oh, WWE's stupid. They're just worried about 1,000 days. They're worried about how many people he can, beat for title reign lengths and all that kind of thing. And all the different historical markers that he's beating. Oh, that doesn't matter. It should be something else. It should be something else. But now we talk about Gunther, and all anybody's saying is, well, we don't like Honky Tonk Man, so we want him to wipe out his record. Just please show me a little bit of consistency. Now, apparently there's all kinds of questions going on around Drew McIntyre's contract status and all that kind of thing. Does that make WWE less likely to trust him with a title that they might have to vacate and do something with? I don't know. I don't want to speculate, because really, realistically, I just want to watch the show. It does feel predictable that Drew McIntyre is going to be a huge mountain for Gunther to climb, and Gunther's going to go on, and he's going to beat Honky Tonk Man's record because all the screechers on X are demanding it. The big reveal for me is whether or not the rumor is true that Ilya Dragunov is coming to join Imperium, because that's a thing that's apparently happening. If you didn't see Great American Bash, check out the match between Ilya Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes is still your NXT champion, which is awesome. I think they're setting up a feud between Carmelo Hayes and Wes Lee, which I will buy a ticket for, metaphorically speaking, with my WWE network. Ilya Dragunov's awesome. Ilya Dragunov, in the pandemic, the only thing I watched from... Actually, that's not true. I tried to review a couple episodes of NXT UK, and I couldn't because it was depressing. But the one thing I did see was Ilya Dragunov versus Gunther in the BT Sport Arena... Or, sorry, the BT Sport Studio. Completely empty. Just the two of them absolutely fucking hamburgering each other. So, what I will say... Drew McIntyre's probably not going to win the IC title at SummerSlam. If Ilya Dragunov joins Imperium and there's a 4-person group, I think you take Drew McIntyre, you take Matt Riddle, you take Chad Gable, and because Kevin Owens is injured right now, you take Sami Zayn, and you have a 4-on-4. I'm not saying it necessarily has to be War Games, but it would be really fucking cool if it was War Games. I would have said Randy Orton as well, but apparently Randy Orton's situation is really not great, which sucks. Which really, really sucks. A lot of people on the injured list right now. It's a bummer. It really, really is. But yeah, put together a team like that. Not necessarily the tippy top guys on the card, but guys that will go head to head. I'm sorry. I just realized it right now. I'm really curious what a one-on-one match between Sami Zayn and Ilya Dragunov would look like, because I think that would be so much fun. But yeah, Imperium plus Ilya Dragunov, so I guess new Imperium with all 4 members. Remember, Imperium in its initial stages used to have Alexander Wolf in there as their 4th person, and then he was released because WWE went through a bad time. But yeah, if you put them in there against a team like Drew McIntyre, Matt Riddle, Chad Gable, and Sami Zayn, I think that could be a hell of a match. And I'm going to say it one more time. It doesn't have to be at... it doesn't have to be in War Games, but it would be really, really cool if it was in War Games. Picking Gunther to retain, though. Let's talk about the members of the Judgment Day that don't have anything to do tonight. Or at least they don't have anything to do right now. Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley has no competitor for SummerSlam. I said a couple weeks ago that it was pretty obvious that they were going to go with Rhea versus Raquel at some point. And then Raquel got injured, and I thought, okay, that's kind of cool. We can have Liv Morgan face her here, we can have Raquel face her at the next show, and then you line up a bigger challenger at, say, SummerSlam or the Royal Rumble. I'll get to who that I think that challenger is in a second. Now, Liv Morgan's legitimately injured, apparently, and I don't know what the Raquel thing is, because Raquel was out there on Raw wanting a match. She got her leg kicked in again by Ripley when she tried to get herself a match, and Adam Pearce said, you know, I'll give you a shot at Rhea when you're cleared. So there's always the slight opportunity that they might have, if it is a work, and I hope it is. I don't want anybody to be injured. Even wrestlers I don't like. I don't actually want somebody like a Sasha Banks to be injured. I don't want the Bucks to be injured. I don't want Kenny Omega to be injured. I don't want Bianca Belair to be injured. I just don't want them on my TV so much. It's not that hard. If she's not actually injured and this is a fake out, to have an on-the-spot call-out on the night, the kind of character Rhea Ripley is, she'd have to answer, she'd have to be insulted by the call-out, and she would have to destroy Raquel Rodriguez. And then you'd have to line up somebody else for her real quick. Whereas, if there were no injuries, she could do Liv Morgan this month, Raquel the next month, and then try to find her a bigger opponent. I'm going to get on to who I think that bigger opponent should be later on. I used to say it should be Becky Lynch, but I might be sliding my opinion to one side. We'll get there when we get there. I was going to say Dominic Mysterio doesn't have anything to do on this card either. He's still got the NXT North American Championship because he defended it valiantly against Mustafa Ali and Wes Lee at the Great American Bash. And I think he already has another challenger lined up after this week's episode of NXT. I was going to say it would be kind of cool if somebody from NXT showed up at SummerSlam and tried to call him out, or at least punked him out backstage, or had some kind of interference. But then this week on NXT, they established that his next challenger is going to be Dragon Lee, which I think is awesome. Obviously, Dominic Mysterio is going to have Mami in his corner, and Dragon Lee is going to have Rey Mysterio in his corner. So that's going to show us what kind of shape Rey Mysterio's in, if he actually gets physically involved or if he's just in there to, like, fuck with Dominic's head. The fact that neither of them have matches on this show, kind of weird. Don't need both of them to have, like, Rhea Ripley's the main character of WWE. I'm sorry. Like, she's in the Judgment Day, which is taking over that main spot that the Bloodline had, but the Bloodline is falling apart now. So she's the main character of the main act. She is the main character of WWE. I don't care what anybody says. I like Seth Rollins. I know a lot of people think it's Cody Rhodes. The Bloodline thing is still strong, but it's Rhea Ripley. Like, the fact that she doesn't have a match on this card is weird. Like, just have her do a blind open challenge or something like that. But it's a miss. Unless she's way more heavily involved in the world title match than we think. If she wants to go down there and hit Seth Rollins with a riptide, I will laugh a lot. Then I will accept if her next challenger is Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch and Rhea Ripley, both not on this show, actually. Think about that for a second. Now, switching over to the SmackDown side of things, it should be Charlotte versus Asuka, but Bianca Belair refuses to go away like a cockroach. Or a rat. Oh yes. Hovering over this entire match is obviously the Money in the Bank briefcase held by Io Sky. It's been heavily... She basically said, whoever wins, I'm going to cash in on them. I don't know that that's going to happen. People want Belair to win because she was so robbed. Like, they kept the title on Bianca... I know I go back to this a lot. They kept the title on Bianca Belair for so long just so that she could have another record under her belt before they gave it over to Asuka, which was really awesome, and Asuka's new character is awesome, and I don't even... Okay, on the other side of the coin, I don't even want Charlotte Flair to win this. I think Asuka should dominate the crap out of both of them, and then possibly get cashed in on by Io Sky, and then they go and have a feud. But here's the thing. Here's the thing I will give you. Here is the thing that I will give you, Bianca Belair fans. If you have to have Bianca Belair win this match, she suffers the cash in by Io Sky. She gets to get another title reign under her belt for a couple of seconds. If it didn't hurt Finn Balor, it won't hurt her. And then you go to SmackDown the following week, and obviously Asuka wants her rematch, but Bianca Belair also wants her rematch. They both got a stake. Charlotte Flair is out of the equation, which I'm sure makes all the weirdos happy. And then Asuka beats Bianca Belair one-on-one to get a #1 contendership to now Io Sky's championship. And you've got a feud that you could do with Io Sky and Asuka through Payback, through Survivor Series. If you don't want to do a straight-up rematch at Survivor Series, you could have Team Asuka versus Team Io. I think that would be amazing. I don't know what you do after that going into the Royal Rumble. These are just ideas that I'm floating around. But that Money in the Bank briefcase, no matter who else gets involved, that Money in the Bank briefcase currently held by Io Sky has to result in a drawn-out story or a drawn-out feud, or at least a drawn-out series of matches. Do a best-of-7. We haven't done that in a long time. A best-of-7 between Io Sky and Asuka would fucking own. And if you stretched it out long enough, don't do it every week, maybe do it every other week, maybe do 1 or 2 of the matches on Payback and Survivor Series. Have the final match be at the Rumble. You can do that. You absolutely can do that. The Bloodline has been going for 3 years now. Oh yes. But, I don't know. I hate Bianca Belair. The way they book her, let me be clear, the way they book her makes me roll my eyes and, check my phone when she comes on screen. And here's the thing, like I said, people say I'm biased towards Charlotte Flair. Yes, I am, because she's probably the best woman in that division, not named Charlotte Flair. Or not named Rhea Ripley, rather. But I don't want Charlotte to win it either. Where I'm saying Bianca Belair doesn't need it because she's been given enough, I'm also agreeing with the people that unrealistically hate on Charlotte Flair and saying she doesn't need it either. The ones that need it, the ones that could shine out of all of this, is Io Sky and Asuka. Just the promo battles these two women have been fucking awesome. Give them a proper platform to have a proper feud. It could be fantastic, and it'll stir up things. Oh, where exactly does Damage Control sit? I know Dakota Kai is still injured as well. Another one on the injured list. That's a bummer as well. But I mean, other members of Damage Control have other things to worry about, which we're going to get to in a second. Now, Shayna Baszler versus Ronda Rousey. Now, they did a really cool, almost documentary-style video package, 2-part video package on Raw this week between the two of them about how Baszler's actually been was actually an MMA star longer, but Ronda Rousey became the bigger star. They all went over and they all lived at Ronda's, but it was so that she could beat them up, pretty much. Shayna Baszler came up the right way. She went through the developmental system, went through NXT. Ronda Rousey debuted at WrestleMania, and The reason those things punch is because they're both true. Like, I don't think them fast-tracking a name like Ronda Rousey to WrestleMania was a bad move. Obviously, you got the marquee value out of that, and she took to it like a fish to water. Don't get me wrong. Ronda Rousey, awesome. Her first go-around, and let's be real, the fans were more receptive to her the first time around as well. The fans this time around are being a bit strange. Shayna Baszler is a badass. Is an absolute badass. Before Rhea Ripley came to NXT proper, and she was just in NXT UK, Shayna Baszler, like, ran NXT, and I was, like, chomping at the bit for her to come up to the main roster and own the main roster. Then she came up to the main roster and did weird vampire shit with Becky Lynch, and that was terrible. We don't need to go back there ever again. Then they made her team with Nia Jax. Come on! They got rid of Marina Shafir, they got rid of Jessamine Duke, and they had her tag team with Nia Jax. Mishandling of talent if I've ever seen it. Now, the outside thing about all this, or sorry, I should say, they're fighting by MMA rules. You guys know me. I don't know a thing about MMA. I don't watch UFC. It doesn't intrigue me at all. The only thing I ever saw, I've seen one or two things of Brock Lesnar, just like highlight package type things, and obviously because I'm a huge CM Punk fan, when he tried his hand at MMA, I watched that. I watched him get his ass kicked. I said, good for you, you tried, and then he came eventually back to wrestling. Didn't laugh at him for failing like some people did, because I acknowledged that he did, right now in that couple of minutes, he did more than I've done. So kind of trying to be balanced in that way. So I don't exactly know what the MMA rules thing in the context of WWE is going to mean. Ronda Rousey is coming to the end of her contract, apparently. So I have to imagine the last thing she wants to do before she leaves is put her friend over. Shayna Baszler's already a badass. Give her a huge win in the context that they share, which is the MMA UFC style, and have her be the new big bad monster of the division. Now, why do I say that? Because there is a debate right now going on about who should main event night one of WrestleMania next year. Everybody wants it to be Cody Roman 2, which would be bullshit. But everybody wants the main event of night one to be Rhea Ripley, because she's a star, either taking on Becky Lynch or Bianca Belair. Now, the Bianca Belair option turns my stomach a little bit. The Becky Lynch option is really, really tantalizing from a character point of view, but I have to go back once again to what I mention all the time when it comes to Rhea Ripley specifically, and when it comes to challengers for Rhea Ripley, especially if she can come off of beating Ronda Rousey and metaphorically kicking Ronda Rousey out of the WWE. Shayna Baszler losing the Women's Championship to Rhea Ripley on a random episode of NXT was the only episode of NXT that beat Dynamite. Now, to be fair, on the same card, the opening match was Finn Balor versus Adam Cole, which was also really good. The main event of that show was Shayna Baszler versus Rhea Ripley. If you lay your cards right, see what you have, correct the mistakes with Shayna Baszler, give her this big win at SummerSlam, and keep that momentum going, and just keep Rhea Ripley doing Rhea Ripley shit, this pairing for night one of WrestleMania next year should be undeniable. I'm erasing the one that I've advocated for so long, which was Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley. I want it to be Shayna Baszler. I wanted it to be Shayna Baszler, and I know when she turned on Ronda Rousey, they wanted her to be the heel because she's the one that did the turn. But I think by doing that, because everybody has a sort of a skewed opinion of Ronda Rousey these days, I think they accidentally baby-faced Shayna Baszler. So she can still be a badass. She doesn't have to be like a goody two-shoes, John Cena, early babyface Bayley type character just because she's a good guy. But she can carry the momentum of eradicating Ronda Rousey from now till WrestleMania, or at least until the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble comes, all they have to do the Royal Rumble. I'm sorry, I'm going wide afield here. Shayna Baszler wins the Royal Rumble. The next night on Raw, where they do that, oh my god, what title is she going to go for? she throws to the screen. She shows that episode of NXT. She shows Rhea Ripley hitting the, I think it was second rope Riptide on her to win that title. And she just turns to Rhea Ripley and says something to the effect of, "It's time to get mine back." And I think that is so awesome. For all the love, you guys know, for weeks and weeks and weeks and months now, you guys know the love that I have for Rhea Ripley. The proper one to topple Rhea Ripley is Shayna Baszler. But, as we know, WWE doesn't always do the proper thing. Please let me know down in the box below if you agree with me, because I think that would be so fucking awesome. Don't put any bells and whistles on it. Don't put any, like, stupid side story Shayna Baszler took a bite out of Dominic or some bullshit. Just, these two women are badasses. We knew it back then, back in, like, rock and roll skulls and crossbones Triple H black and gold NXT. We knew it back then. We knew how good these women were back then because they main evented NXT back when NXT was really actually good. And nothing's changed. They are still that good. They can do that again. I'm just saying, Baszler's winning. It's kind of predictable, which is sort of unfortunate because of the real life stuff going on with Ronda Rousey. But it's going to be awesome. It's going to kick ass. But you can't go back to, like, okay, she beats Ronda Rousey at SummerSlam, you know, the second biggest show of the year. Oh, no, it didn't happen at Wembley, whatever the fuck ever. But you can't go back the week after to her just, like, beating up random mid-carders. You can't. Like, okay, no offense, because I do like Nikki Cross, but you can't go from, I just beat the crap out of Ronda Rousey so bad that she left WWE to, oh, I think this week I'll beat up Candice LeRae, and this week I'll beat up Nikki Cross. Maybe next week I'll beat up Aaliyah or Chelsea Green. No. You put her up against, like, the alpha female, sorry, slip of the tongue there, put her up against the alpha female of WWE right now, and that's Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley just has to stand still and let Shayna Baszler become that challenger. I'm really excited about this, and it's not going to happen, and that's going to bum the shit out of me. You know what else I'm excited about? Shotzi Blackheart actually has a fucking story. She got attacked by Bayley and Io a couple weeks ago. They cut her hair. She responded by shaving her whole head off and going a bit insane. Now, I've seen pictures of her from house shows, but they're all really sort of fuzzy, random, shitty cell phone house show pictures. We all know the real story. They've worked it into the storyline, but she wanted to shave her head in solidarity with her sister, who's got issues with cancer and going through chemo, and being supportive sister that way. But they've worked it into this story where she's going to go insane. And here's the one thing that I will say, and I think most of the fans are actually being cool about this for once. There's sort of a cliche among wrestling, specifically with the lady wrestlers, whereas, like, if one of them just gets really pissed, I was like, oh, look, another one of them went crazy. Isn't that a cheat code? Oh, they just made her go crazy. Isn't that a cheat code? Shotzi Blackheart's always been crazy. I didn't first see Shotzi Blackheart in NXT. I saw Shotzi Blackheart for the first time at Destiny. I saw her twice live. Check it out for Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. Saw her once. The next time I went to a show, I had a Shotzi Blackheart t-shirt on, and Silesia Sparks cut a promo on me in the merch area because I was wearing the wrong t-shirt, because she was the one that happened to be facing Shotzi that night. It was fucking awesome. I loved it. I got high-fived by everybody. It was a good time. It was a good, nerdy time. Shotzi Blackheart was crazy at Destiny. Shotzi Blackheart was crazy in NXT. Shotzi Blackheart is crazy now. They're just doing something with it. I don't know that any of that is going to happen at SummerSlam. I just thought I would mention that I think it's really cool that they're actually doing something with Shotzi rather than just having her be somebody that somebody else can beat, or somebody that can be somebody's tag team partner when their other partner gets injured, or whatever other kind of filler you can use her as. And I think that's really cool. So we're left with our 2 title matches. I mean, this is another thing that pisses me off. They're going back into that frame of mind of, oh, SummerSlam's got 4 main events. They've got Cody and Brock, they've got the women's triple threat, they've got Seth versus Finn, and they've got Roman versus Jay, all listed as main events. It's not how any of this works. It's not how any of this works. Now, on the other side of the coin, I should say, Rhea Ripley won the Royal Rumble this year, and she didn't get to main event. So WWE doesn't get it right all the time. Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor for the World Heavyweight Championship. I still like that belt. I still really like that belt, and I know people don't agree with me, and that's just fine. We can't both be right. A couple different options here, because once again you have Priest looming over with the Money in the Bank briefcase. Finn Balor and Damian Priest came to the opportunity that both of them want their hands on Seth Rollins, but Finn Balor calls first. They're tying back to the thing 7 years ago where he popped out his shoulder and he held the Universal Championship for a day, which was a bummer. Let's be real for a second. I don't know, because there's 4 options here. Seth retains, and that's it. Finn Balor retains, and that's it. Seth retains and Damian Priest cashes in, or Balor retains, or sorry, Balor becomes the new champion and Priest cashes in. A lot of people are saying Finn Balor wins and then Priest turns on him, which immediately demolishes the Judgment Day, which would suck a lot. Now, if you want to tell a long fallout story between the two of them, I think the better option is somehow Seth retains and Damian Priest cashes in and wins, because then he didn't screw over Balor. He did what he said he was going to do. He let Balor get the first shot. Balor didn't win, and now he's taking his shot. And now Finn Balor has to be the good team player that has to pretend that he's happy that his teammate got the belt that he was fighting for just the night before, etc., etc., etc. I think that's a better told story, but I also just don't want the Judgment Day to break up, because the Judgment Day is awesome. There's the rumors of JD McDonough coming along and being brought under the wing of Finn Balor, who did train him in real life. Let's not forget. Apparently Finn Balor helped train Becky Lynch in her early days as well, which is also kind of cool. Becky Lynch in the Judgment Day would be weird. But if they segment off the Judgment Day, or if Finn Balor breaks off on his own or feels, left out or betrayed or whatever the case may be, if they're going to do the tag team match, if they're going to do Balor and JD McDonough versus Priest and Dominic Mysterio while Priest has the world title, that's a bit messy. It really is. I like Damian Priest, and I think when he decides to cash in, he is going to be a champion. I don't know whether he's going to be a long champion. I don't know whether he's going to be a transitional champion, but I want to see what Damian Priest, the world champion, looks like. But that is superseded by the fact that I really want to see Finn Balor beat Seth Rollins, and I really want to see Finn Balor as a champion, because they put a title on him, and he had to give it up the next day because he was injured, and he never got himself in that position again. He had to go back and sort of rebirth himself in NXT. And for those of you that doubt that, what Finn Balor did in NXT, and yes, I'm going to get shot for this, what they're trying to do with Baron Corbin now in NXT are not the same, but they're not that different. I think a big reason, to go off on a tangent, I think a big reason that people responded so well to Baron Corbin is they want to send the message to WWE, you did a lot of really, really cringy, tacky, corny stuff with this guy. We're trying to tell you, if you let him just go out there and kick somebody's ass, we will get behind him. And that's fine. Finn Balor came back to NXT and sort of birthed the Prince persona. Or I know he was Prince Devitt beforehand, but I wasn't watching that back then, so it doesn't count. But I'm sorry, it is true. Say whatever you want about old school black and gold NXT. They basically fixed Finn Balor after main roster ruined him the first time around. So it is what it is. I mean, Finn Balor coming in and kicking out Edge fixed the Judgment Day, and I'm a fan of Edge, so it all swings in roundabouts. I think, ultimately, I want, when Saturday night's show is over, I want that belt on Finn Balor. No disrespect to Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is so good at, being whatever he needs to be in whatever situation, but I gotta see Finn Balor with that championship. And then everybody has something in Judgment Day 2. As corny as that is, it's not quite the Undisputed Era and the Golden Prophecy, but it is, Balor's the world championship holder. Priest is the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. Dominic is still the North American champion, and Rhea Ripley is the women's world champion. And Balor and Rhea will have matching belts. I really do hope that the two of them. I know this is corny. I don't care. I want it anyway. For 1 week, I don't care if you do it for 1 week. Bring that men's and women's world championship out on purple belts. Just do it. I don't care. Just do it. And then the one that should be the most predictable, but they're going to do the wrong thing again. It's Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso in a tribal combat match for the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. Jey should win. What can I say here that I haven't said a million times before? The bloodline started with Roman Reigns' gaslighting and manipulation of Jey Uso. If it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have brought in Jimmy. If it wasn't for the Usos, you wouldn't have brought in Sami Zayn. If it wasn't for all of them being not available, you wouldn't have brought in Solo Sikoa as the brother. Like, none of it. None of it happens if you don't have that sort of master and sidekick relationship that started with him and Jey. Everybody else has come and gone. Everybody, like, Solo's still on board. Paul Heyman's going to turn at some point. Jay's walked away. Jimmy's walked away, and he's injured. Sami Zayn sort of ostracized himself. It has to go back to the toxic relationship that started it. And I hate using that kind of terminology because, you know, it's 2023-isms. But, like, that bad, abusive relationship between him and Jey that Jey let happen at the time, because he didn't think he could fight back, is what started the bloodline, is what started this whole saga. And yes, this is an actual saga, Elite fans. Oh yes. WWE is going to fuck this up, and that bums the shit out of me. It really does. It's going to be awesome, and there's going to be all kinds of bells and whistles, and Solo's going to get involved, and Jimmy's going to get involved because there's no rules, and apparently some of the elders are going to be there, so like Alpha and Sika and Rikishi and all that sort of thing. And yes, looming over all of this is the rumor that The Rock is going to get involved. And as much as I am a huge fan of The Rock, I kind of don't want any of that. I just want the guy that should be the one to topple Roman Reigns to be the guy that topples Roman Reigns. It's not going to happen. That bums the shit out of me. Jey Uso should be... Okay, never mind the bloodline story. Jey Uso should be a champion. He just should. But he should also be the one to topple Roman Reigns. He's the one that got the first pin. He put that chink in the armor after 3 years. Take advantage of it. You know, drain the soldier off the field. I really, really, really want it to happen, and I don't think it's going to. I'm pretty sure it's not going to. And that bums the shit out of me. I'm not going to lie. Anyways, yeah. LA Knight's going to beat Sheamus on SmackDown. Theory's going to beat Escobar on SmackDown. LA Knight's going to win the Battle Royal. Cody Rhodes is going to beat Brock Lesnar, unfortunately. Hopefully he gets his ass kicked by Bray Wyatt. Trish and Becky isn't happening. Ricochet and Logan Paul, I don't really think it matters who wins. And I mean that in the most positive way possible, but I think the match itself is the win. Gunther's going to retain. Rhea doesn't have a match. Dom doesn't have a match. Asuka should win and start a feud with Io Sky, Money in the Bank briefcase, etc., etc., etc. There's no tag team title match with Owens being injured, but eventually, I'm just going to stick this in here really quickly, eventually when Owens gets back, I know it would be face versus face, but I want to see a match between them and DIY. Where the hell is Johnny Gargano? Shayna Baszler's going to beat Ronda Rousey, hopefully to set up that dream match next year at WrestleMania. Maybe we get an interaction between Shotzi and Bayley. We get to see new bald Shotzi on TV for the first time. Finn Balor hopefully walks away with the World Heavyweight Championship, and Jey Uso should walk away with the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship, but he won't because I can't always get what I want. I'm going to go cry about it now. Anyways, I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all of these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out.